When it comes to defense placement, we usually put our most valuable defenses at the core of our base, starting with cannon from the very outside of our base, since apparently this guy is not really valuable, to the brand new monolith deep inside our base as a last resort defense. Now, there's nothing wrong with this defense strategy, but is there a better way to make our base even more unpenetrable? Today we'll compare various defense placement and see which defense placement is actually the most effective. There are 6 categories that we can use to sort our defenses. First is obviously based on their town hall level or quality. Second is based on their total cost to max level. You'll be surprised to see cannon back there. Yeah, this guy cost about 75 million gold in total. More expensive than Scattershot, maybe because it has freaking 21 levels. We can also sort them based on their HP, DPS, and their attack range. Finally, we'll also sort them by their rarity. For example, Monolith and Eagle are the rarest defense since we can only have one of them each. Now, before we begin, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments which formation you think is going to win. Let the epic challenge begin. Let's start by sorting these defenses according to their town hall level, which is the most basic factor in defense placement. To test this out, I'll just send in one Barbarian King. Well, the King almost made it to the end, but ultimately failed miserably. Since the Eagle artillery seems to be sleeping on the job, let's try using 200 housing space of troops instead of just one hero. I believe this formation is more than capable of withstanding 200 housing space worth of troops. I won't use the Electro Family in this test, as they would happily take down all those defenses in one swipe. I mean, come on, this formation is like a buffet for the Electro Family. But hey, I was wrong, those defenses held up better than I expected. All in all, this defense placement is definitely very solid, and could be used as a golden standard for future tests. We'll be referring back to this result as a measure of how well each defense placement is doing. Alright, let's try something different. Let's reverse sear this formation, with the mighty monolith taking the brunt of the attack head-on. Will it perform better? Well, let's see if sacrificing monolith is a good idea. PEKKA wipe it clean like it's nothing. So, putting big town hall defense first is a bad idea. Let's put it in the B tier since it's the standard defense placement. It's not particularly flashy, but it gets the job done. Let's sort the defenses based on their DPS. After all, we want to protect the defenses that can deal the most damage, right? We'll start with the lower DPS and work our way up. And by the way, did you know that air defense has the highest DPS of all the defenses? It's like the Chuck Norris of defense, but for air attacks. And of course, the poor air sweeper will take the first blow, since in terms of DPS, it's like a harmless feather duster in comparison to the other defenses. Surprisingly, this placement is actually very solid. Even an Electro Titan can't clear this formation. And it works even better against small to medium troops like Valkyries. I even invited Super Dragon from its lair to try and beat this formation, but this defense proved to be tough enough to hold its ground very effectively. Sorting defenses by their DPS from lower to higher is actually not a bad idea. In fact, it may be even better than sorting them by their town hall levels. Of course, in actual base building, you would want to place your Eagle artillery a bit further behind to make it harder to reach. But what if we reverse the formation? Perhaps we could more effectively repel enemy troops by positioning higher damage defenses at the front, allowing us to quickly burst them down before they can breach our lines. Well, actually, it turns out that this strategy makes for a trash formation all of a sudden. Even a bunch of Valkyries can take down this formation with ease. So I guess putting your high damage defenses first is not a good idea after all. They'll be easily destroyed, and you'll be left with a bunch of low damage defense that can't do much. Overall, sorting your defenses based on their DPS from lower to higher is a very solid strategy. So I'll put DPS in a higher tier than the basic Town Hall level. Now let's try sorting them by their range. Although range is considered a secondary stat, it actually matters in battle. We'll try putting defenses with a wider range in the back line to create a more effective formation. Alright, let's see if this strategy is as effective as we thought. Well, it turns out that I underestimated this formation. It actually exceeded my expectations and managed to stop 8 PEKKA before they could do much damage to the base. This formation was so tough, it could even annihilate Electro Dragons like they were nothing. Say goodbye to the Electro Titan. It's a thing of the past now that it's been easily countered by this formation. Obviously, throwing a bunch of Valkyries at this base is like trying to tickle a PEKKA. It's just not gonna work. But I'll throw him in the ring anyway, just to show how strong this base really is. It was able to stop every troop from PEKKA to Super Dragon with ease. And with that, I can confidently say that organizing defenses based on their range is a highly effective strategy. Just don't put them in the other way around, since they will crumble easily even with slight force. Well, I'd say this strategy deserves to be at the top of the tier list, reigning supreme over all the other puny defense strategies. Well, there are still 3 more categories to explore, and who knows? Maybe we'll find a strategy that will make sorting by range look like a medieval siege tactic. Now let's sort them by their hit points, with the higher HP building tanking the lower HP building. Well, it doesn't quite work, as it can be easily wiped out by Valkyries, and even PEKKA can do this easily. Unfortunately, most of the high HP defenses are the high-end ones that usually do the heavy lifting for this formation. But what if we turn it around? Well, it becomes a decent formation. Although the small HP defenses took a toll and were destroyed first, they managed to hold off the PEKKA attacks. And yeah, even the mighty Electro Titan doesn't stand a chance against this base. So yeah, it's definitely a very solid formation. However, it still falls short compared to the range-based formation, just a little bit though. Now, let's talk about money. When it comes to the total cost to reach max level, what do you think is the most expensive defense? Excluding the Monolith, which uses Dark Elixir, the most expensive defense is actually the Wizard Tower, with a total cost of 83.9 million gold from level 1 to max level. But now the real question is, does the gold cost really matter in our quest to find the greatest defense formation in Clash of Clans? Well, based on this result, looks like it doesn't matter, since PEKKA can easily wipe them clean without much effort. Well, I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but even if we flipped the formation upside down and spun it around like a dreidel, it still wouldn't make much of a difference. PEKKA would still bulldoze through it like a hot knife through butter. And this guy is the luckiest builder alive. So yeah, building cost doesn't really matter when it comes to building a base. Now for the last category we have Rarity, which may sound trivial, but who knows? Maybe it can beat the undisputed range-based formation. Of course, we'll put the most common defenses first as a shield for the rarer defenses. Let's see if these rare defenses are worth protecting. Now, what if we put the rarer defenses first? I guess it's a very mediocre formation, but still better than sorting by cost. Well folks, there you have it. The test results show that sorting defenses by range is the way to go. Of course, this is just one test, and building a base is more complicated than just a single formation, but it's a good reference for us to start with. So, how do you build your base? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, happy clashing.